Before we go into today's video and subsequent videos, I just want to remind you, yes, I do realize that the intro text is misaligned and off center. I do not know what caused that. It wasn't like that before. I have tried to get it fixed in After Effects, but After Effects is throwing up every single time I try to open the project that's associated with it. So I'm going to have to maybe make a brand new project just so I can fix that. So until then, you're going to have to deal with the text in the intro being a bit off center. So apologies for that. I'll try to get it fixed as soon as I can. But with that being said, on to the video. ESPN suddenly got two very big wins this morning. First with the acquisition of the NFL Network, and then with the WWE. First with the NFL, ESPN is acquiring the NFL Network and other NFL media assets in exchange for 10% equity stake in ESPN, according to a press release by the NFL saying, quote, ESPN, a subsidiary of the Walt Disney Company and the National Football League, today announced a non-binding agreement under which ESPN will acquire NFL Network and certain other media assets owned and controlled by the NFL, including NFL's linear Redzone channel and NFL Fantasy, in exchange for a 10% equity stake in ESPN. In addition to the sale of NFL Network, the NFL and ESPN are also entering into a second non-binding agreement under which the NFL will license to ESPN certain NFL content and other intellectual property to be used by NFL Network and other assets. And what this means under the agreement is saying, quote, NFL Network, including both linear and digital rights, will be owned and operated by ESPN and fully integrated into ESPN DTC alongside traditional paid television distribution, increasing accessibility and flexibility for consumers and promoting innovation in sports programming. ESPN would own broad rights to the Redzone brand and distribute the NFL Redzone channel to paid TV operators for continued inclusion into their sports packages. NFL Fantasy Football will merge with ESPN Fantasy Football, creating the official fantasy season-long game of the NFL and one best-in-class digital experience, driving innovation and enabling broader reach to meet global demand. This is PR talk, mind you. In total, ESPN platforms will license an additional 3 NFL games per season to air on NFL Network as a result of today's news. In addition, ESPN will adjust its overall NFL game schedule with 4 games, including some from overlapping windows, shifting to NFL Network, which will continue to present 7 games per season. And finally, the NFL will continue to own and operate its retained media businesses, including properties such as NFL Films and key fan-facing platforms such as NFL Plus, NFL.com, NFL Podcast Network, the NFL Fast Channel, didn't even know that was a thing, and the official sites for the league's 32 clubs. They'll also continue to own, operate, and produce NFL Redzone and retain the rights to distribute NFL Redzone digitally. And I understand that is a lot to digest, but we are not done just yet, because not to be outdone by the NFL, also this morning the WWE announced that it is partnering with ESPN to join the upcoming ESPN streaming platform. According to ESPN.com, it is saying, quote, WrestleMania will be part of ESPN's new direct-to-consumer streaming services starting in 2026 thanks to an agreement between WWE and ESPN. The deal announced Wednesday includes 2 night events such as WrestleMania and SummerSlam, plus other WWE PLEs, including Royal Rumble, Survivor Series, and Money in the Bank. WWE will produce the events for ESPN platforms, which will serve as their exclusive U.S. domestic home. After some PR talk, it goes on to say also included is the opportunity for ESPN to stream WWE pre- and post-event shows for all premium live events. And after more PR talk, it goes on to say ESPN will launch its streaming service on August 21st with a $29.99 per month price point and will keep the linear network name ESPN. And for the record, the WWE has been on Peacock for a while, and its streaming contract with them ends in 2025, which is when this new ESPN deal goes into effect. Now, before I go into the specifics about each particular deal, let's be honest, the $29.99 a month is kind of steep, and I don't know, a lot of people are not going to be too happy about that price point. There is a chance that we don't know the details about what exactly the pricing is going to be yet as it pertains to what I'm about to say, is that with many of these types of apps and streaming services, they do allow people who are already subscribed to a channel on their particular cable package in order to just access the streaming services free of charge. Like for instance, HBO Max, if you are already an HBO subscriber, you can just say, hey, I'm subscribed and here's my cable provider, and then you have access to whatever they have. And I know many retailers and cable companies will give you access to like Netflix for free, or in the case of Walmart Plus, they'll give you access to Paramount Plus or a particular tier of their package or whatever. There are many places that do that. We don't know how ESPN's going to do this. Maybe they're not going to do that. It's going to be a $29.99 a month fee on top of everything else. If that's the case, then you're going to have a lot of angry consumers there. And ESPN is known to have some weird ways of thinking about these sort of things. So it's not out of the realm of possibility that they're going to just not care about what people think, because who's going to tell them no? Who's going to say I don't want it? Because if you don't have ESPN, you don't have half of the stuff that they have. Now, there is some good news as it pertains to the rights that they have, because before, when they were starting getting like the UFC rights, there was some questions whether or not they were getting too many rights to too many sports, like the NHL, NBA. They had some rights to the NFL. They had some baseball rights, and then the UFC. Like, are they just going to try to control every single sports league in the world? And are we going to have to talk about antitrust suits, which again, they get ignored anymore, all the people starting to merge with one another. But lately you've seen the NBA going to NBC. You're seeing this weird thing that's going on with baseball right now with them, and I don't know what the deal is with that. I haven't figured out what exactly went on there. And plus, there is some talk that the UFC is starting to look around for other people to sell the rights to. It remains to be seen whether or not that they're going to stay with ESPN or not. There's some talk and rumors and stuff saying that they might go elsewhere. So maybe that's some breath of fresh air that ESPN is not getting into a sports monopoly situation, but we'll have to wait and see. Now, this thing with the NFL, let's talk about the NFL first, because a lot of the questions were going on social media about what's happening with the NFL Redzone. Scott Hansen going to keep hosting the show, and he has said on social media on X that he is still going to be hosting it. Is there going to be commercials now? 7 hours commercial-free football. That was the tagline. And we've seen the side-by-side stuff starting to happen on that channel. Is that going to evolve into full commercials, full-screen commercials? That's going to dampen the value of that channel, because that was the whole point. This was a whip around of all the games that were going on that Sunday. That was one of my favorite channels, because you get to see the out-of-market games and you don't have to worry about the blackout stuff that goes on with the NFL. And I hate those blackout rules. Like, why are they still around? Why are they still clinging to all those blackout rules? They're the weirdest things I've ever seen. You are blacked out from a game and that game doesn't get a sellout? What? So yeah, Redzone has a lot of value and it has a great host in Scott Hansen. Why screw that up? But again, we know how ESPN is. They like to tinker with things, fix things that are not broken. What's going to happen with Monday Night Football? Is that still going to be a thing? Is that still going to be an institution? As much as it has lowered in value in recent years, you can't deny that it still has some value to it. It still has a lot of people that want to watch it, and that's like the national game, as much as people might think that it's gone down in value in recent years. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of questions that are still going to arise from that. Is it going to be a part of this new streaming service like the WWE is going to be? That's another question that WWE fans are going to have, is that now I have to pay more than what I used to pay for the PLEs, the premium line of events, which used to be known as pay-per-views. I'm pretty sure Tony Khan and AEW would have loved to have a deal like this, would have loved to have ESPN as their partner, but WWE got to them first, and you noticed that there was a lot of coverage that ESPN had with the WWE recently. And I think it's kind of ironic that back during the Attitude Era, ESPN ran that special about how violent and how gratuitous the WWE television, their programming was back in the day during the Attitude Era, like in 1999, 2000, back during those times. And we all know the real reason why they were running that special is because Monday Night Football was losing to the WWE. It had nothing to do, they didn't really care about whether or not WWE ran programming that had sexual titillation or of a violent nature, because all they cared about is trying to vilify the WWE so people would tune out and tune on to Monday Night Football, because the ratings were not that great. Remember, ESPN and ABC were one of the same at that point. By that point, ABC was owned by Disney and so was ESPN. But you see how ironic it is now, because now ESPN is in bed with WWE. And it's also ironic when you take into account that WWE had its own network, the WWE Network, and they touted the $9.99 price point. From that point, we were thinking that was just a meme-worthy thing, and how great did we have it at that point. But again, before we freak out over this whole price point, remember that some of these streaming services do have that TV provider linking option, which in NFL's case, I don't know if you noticed that on NFL Redzone, if you try to link your service provider and it happened to be Xfinity, then Xfinity was not on one of those options for which TV service provider you had. I don't know if anybody else noticed it, but I certainly did. And not allowing your service to be linked with what seems to be the biggest TV service provider, that's kind of odd. I think it might change now that ESPN has this deal with the NFL, and Xfinity seems more than willing to allow ESPN on their basic service package. Let's see if that's the case. But again, before we freak out, and I understand the freaking out, let me remind you that some of those TV service providers have that option. But more to the point, does this screw over cord cutters? More cord cutting screwing over. And nobody seems to care in the government right now. Nobody that has the power to do anything about it seems to care that people choose to be cord cutters because they think cable's too expensive. Well, all these service providers are going to charge this much, and then this much, and this much. And why bother cutting the cord if the streaming services are just going to pile on all of these charges? And I have seen those channels that talk about cord cutting and using antennas to get the major network providers like CBS, ABC, NBC, Fox, CW, stuff like that. But now you're seeing that it's not worth it to cut the cord because you're paying more for these streaming services. And I think that's by design in a way, that they know that if they make it so expensive that it'll be cheaper just to get Comcast, just to get Spectrum, or whatever service provider is the most well-known in your area or has a monopoly in your area, which that's a problem. But here's the last thing I want to say about the WWE and ESPN specifically. We know how the UFC was doing it. You had to pay for ESPN Plus to get the package, plus, in addition to the whatever it costs in order for you to get ESPN Plus, the additional money in order to get the specific pay-per-view you wanted. Like if you say you paid enough to get ESPN Plus and stream UFC, right? If you wanted to get, say, UFC 300, you had to pay an additional $70 just for that pay-per-view. And it's just for that pay-per-view. And then another $70 for the next one, and then another one, that one. I don't know why UFC doesn't do the WWE model. I don't know why they never did that. And maybe they will be looking into something like that if this thing with ESPN falls downhill. But now the WWE is going to have this premium live events on ESPN, and we need more information about what the price is going to be. Because is it going to be the $30? Let's not kid around. It's $30. Let's round up. Will it be $30 for the streaming service, and then you have to pay extra to get each premium live event? It might as well be called pay-per-view at that point. The whole point of the WWE putting everything on the network is that you don't have to worry about, one, time constraints. You can go however long they want to with the pay-per-views or premium live events, whatever you want to call them, and it was more value for your money. You didn't have to worry about everything costing an arm and a leg. Now you have to worry because ESPN did that model with the UFC. Are they going to try the same model with the WWE? I would hope not. It's going to lead to a lot of people being very upset. But let's see how this goes. What are your thoughts on it? Please leave a comment down below. I would love to hear from you. Plus, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. And I will see you next time. Please stay true to your mental health. And as always, to be continued.